Hi, you're watching QTV, broadcasting from Banjul, the Gambia. And welcome to another edition of the Viewpoint. I'm your host, Babu Karsi. On this special edition, I have the pleasure and honor to host the Lord Mayor of the Kanifing Municipal Council, Talib Ahmed Bensouda. Thank you very much for joining us on this special edition of the Viewpoint to look into your work as the mayor of KMC after, 1 year. We're in May. You were elected in office in May 2018. We're in May 2019. Welcome to the Viewpoint.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Almost 1 year. Are you on track looking into the promises made? I'm sure we still have a long way to go, but after 1 year in office, how will you sum up your 12 months in office?
I don't like to say I made promises. I like to say I made a plan. And that's the plan I sold, so maybe you can call the plan promises. But it's been 1 year in office. Some things we expected, some things we did not expect. But overall, I think it's been a productive year. I feel like I've been in the office for maybe 5 years. It just shows the amount of work that we do on a daily basis. It's a very productive council now. It's a council that is non-partisan in terms of how we operate. We try to keep the council affairs apolitical, meaning regardless of your political party, what we like to discuss is issues rather than partisan politics or partisan ideas. So in a summary-wise, I would say it's been a great year.
What kind of a council were you expecting to inherit when you were announced as the winner of the mayorship?
Well, yeah, the council is the councillors and the mayor, so I wasn't expecting to inherit the council per se. But I guess what you're asking is the administration.
The administration, right?
Yeah, administration, we expected several things in terms of lack of staff capacity. We also expected leakages in terms of the revenue side. We expected subpar services and limited resources. And these are all realities of the council. As we speak, staff capacity is not very good. Resources are not plentiful in terms of fixed assets or financial resources. So it's a lot of issues, a lot of problems, but what we've managed to inject into the council is a sense of direction. We've managed to also increase staff morale in terms of making staff more interested in what they're doing. So I think we're on the right track, and the councillors are very supportive of my agenda, and hopefully before our term is ended, most of our plans will be implemented and realized.
You've talked about, I remember back 12 months ago when you said, a broken KMC, not structured. After 1 year, have you restructured the place?
Yeah, so one of the first things we did when we came into the KMC is we did a HR audit looking at human resources. We looked at what capacity the staff have, what capacity we are looking for, and what the gaps are. So we developed a scheme of service using our appointments and establishment committee. The scheme of service is pretty much telling us what qualifications staff should have in different roles, what their terms of reference should be, and pretty much that's it. And then from there we did an HR audit to look at the scheme of service we've developed versus the actual staff we have. And we discovered many gaps, and we are working with what they are calling the Unified Local Government Service Commission, which is set up by the Minister of Local Government. They are supposed to handle staff matters for councils. So we are working in partnership with them to see how we can fill in those gaps. So
you've talked about the resources, lack of resources.
Yeah.
What area, to be specific?
Well, financial resources. So for example, when we came into council, we found little or no money. There was probably 2 million in the bank or 3 million, something like that. So that's very difficult to work with. You have a pay scale that's up to 2 million a month. So if you only have 2 million in your account, that's a struggle. So we've managed to boost that. As we speak, we have a cushion, a comfortable cushion in our bank accounts in which we can operate. However, we still have a lot of leakages in terms of people not paying their taxes. As we speak, we have $300 million in outstanding, people not paying their rates. So that's a big challenge. We also have, in terms of what we do collect, leakages. This is a corruption problem. We are doing all we can to mitigate it. What we are doing is we are trying to sensitize the public that if you try to bribe any KMC staff, you're not only cheating the people of KM, you're cheating yourself, because
I will come to that shortly. Before the corruption, you've talked about a very important point. That is tax people not paying forthcoming.
Exactly.
So that's your role as KMC to send in your people to
absolutely.
Go collect tax.
So one of the biggest problems is we don't have a fully mapped and addressed municipality. So it's difficult to track people. Secondly, not all properties are valued. Thirdly, we don't have the enforcement capacity to ensure that all the taxes can be collected. The municipal police was disbanded in 2016, and we are looking to rebuild it. So we've requested from the central government.
So you think it's a bad idea to disband the municipal police?
It's a terrible idea. You cannot be a government without enforcement. You can only govern if you can enforce. So it was not a good idea. Coming in, that was one of our main priorities, and I just received verbal news today that the approval has come for us to hire 100 new police officers. So that would definitely help in terms of getting people to pay their rates and their outstanding debt. So that's going to be very important.
With the issue of corruption, the KMC have been accused several times, but years back that they have people that will go collect tax and put it in their own pockets. Are you still witnessing this?
It's still an issue, but we always say they can only do it because they have accomplices, and the accomplices are the taxpayers themselves. If somebody comes to you and asks you to give them something so they can give you a discount, the first thing you should ask them is KMC their own personal property that they can give you a discount? Secondly, anything you give them, know that doesn't go into the records of KMC, so it will still show that you are owing us. Thirdly, if you give them money, you're not only cheating the people of KMC, you're cheating your very self, because that money is supposed to build the roads, it's supposed to collect your waste, it's supposed to provide services for you and people in your municipality. So I don't see the rationale in trying to bribe KMC staff.
Interesting. The plan, as you rightly put it at the beginning, you made a mention of three very important areas, if I could remember, when you talked about, the promises made. I will not even call it promises, but infrastructure was part of it. The health-wise was part of it. The structure in the KMC. We've talked about that already. Let's move into infrastructure quickly. Apart from the slabs I saw on the highways, the new building inside KMC, what other infrastructures, or what really do you mean when you want to use the word infrastructure? So
infrastructure, of course, is a general term that every politician would like to accomplish, because without proper infrastructure, you don't have the free movement of people and goods. And without the free movement of people and goods, you don't have a strong economy, or you don't have a good quality of life. So, of course, infrastructure is always part of plans for any government, be it municipal or central. However, like I said, with our limited resources, it's pretty difficult to build much infrastructure. As you see, most of KMC is unbuilt. Most roads have never been paved. I would say 95% of roads are unpaved. It will be difficult for any one council to come in and fix all of those. We can only do our best and pave as many roads as possible. Now, in terms of what infrastructure projects we have currently going on, we do have a partnership with Gumworks in excess of $100 million, where it is the town hall building we're building right now in council. It also includes Latrikunda Market, over there, Latrikunda Sabiji. It also includes Bundung Maternity Ward, the rehabilitation of Bundung Maternity Ward. It includes other 5 concrete roads, the latest being the one being built at Bakau Newtown, connecting Newtown to Atlantic Road. We also, those are counterpart funding, meaning Gumworks puts up money, KMC puts up money. The ones that are being fully funded by KMC as we speak is Latkumba Low Road in the market we just constructed. We also intended to build the cooperative road which connects Kairaba Avenue to cooperative and Birkama Garage. These are going to be all fully funded by KMC. We also engaged in market expansion projects, the latest being in Serakunda Market. And we're also now going to commence the fencing of Bakote Dome side. So the amount of construction we're doing as a council is unprecedented. Taxpayers' money is actually going to the right place.
That was going to be my next question. All this coming from the taxpayers' money?
Yes, so the ones that are fully funded by KMC, as I said, are coming from taxpayers' money. The ones that are counterpart funding are partly donor funding, international donors through Gumworks, and counterpart funding from KMC, which is taxpayers' money again. But the amount of projects, like I said, this council is undertaking is unprecedented. So we hope to do more. We also hope to leverage on public-private partnerships. We are working on $100 million funding to expand KM markets. So that's something in the pipeline that hopefully we will unveil soon.
Before moving to the health sector, you talked about the Bundung maternity. We're just almost entering the rainy season again, sewage. I mean, you guys have been very busy, trying to, the last time I saw you in Bakau and all that.
Absolutely. So
you think this approach, this slow approach to it will definitely solve the problems that we have within the Greater Banjul?
What do you mean slow?
It's very slow. I saw it maybe once a week, from Bakau to Yoruba, and almost all the areas within the Greater Banjul are affected, during the rainy season.
Well, Greater Banjul is not my responsibility. My responsibility is KM.
KM I'm talking about.
Okay, all right. So Greater Banjul includes Birkama.
Yeah.
So for KM, we've launched Operation Clean the Drains, which we launched 2 weeks ago. It's similar to what we launched last year, and we hope it will be annual. And this is just to rid the drains of waste products or sand, anything that is blocking the drains. And we hope in the next 2 months all the drains will be cleared before the rainy season so the water can drain into the river or ocean. But last year was tremendous because once we did Operation Clean the Drains, NDMA themselves wrote us a letter and said, as opposed to 2017 when they had 400 flood victims, in 2018 they had 30 flood victims, and they gave the credit to the Operation Clean the Drains exercise. So maybe it started in different spots. It's going to be hard to trace them because they follow the drains, but hopefully we'll get to the entire municipality before the end of the 2 months.
And you think within the 2 months they can conquer the...
Yes, just like last year, we're just retracing our steps, including the dredging of the major canal that flows from Latrikunda and pours out, flows from Abuko and pours out into the ocean at Fajara.
Let's talk about the health issue, which is a general concern for many Gambians. Almost many will say, we failed when it comes to the health system. A lot of work needs to be done. Within the KM, we talked about the Bundung maternity. What other things do you think your municipality can contribute in bettering the health system within the council?
So things like health and education are not under the purview of the council. They are still under central government. But regardless, we care about anything that is within our municipality because we're elected members of our municipality. So in terms of healthcare, it's very poor, like you said. Limited ambulatory services, limited medicine. It's the capacity also of nurses and doctors, and even the limited number of nurses and doctors. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. I'm not an expert. We don't have expertise within the council, but like every citizen, we see the problems. All we can do is to advocate and put pressure on central government to do better.
But as a council, how much can you do?
Well, we can't really do much because it's not, it's centralized. It's a centralized service. We do have community clinics here and there, but those are on the ward level and they're run by the members of their own communities. All we can be is, we can only advocate on behalf of residents of the KM. But for now, that's the most we can do until we fully decentralize our government.
Let's move ahead and talk about job creation. It was also part of the plans.
Absolutely.
You know, but it's like it has been moved yet, job creation.
Well, how do you judge that? You have
how
statistics.
many people have you employed since you come, newly into the council or other areas?
We've employed as much as we can. What we do is we use projects we do to employ people. We also use contracts as a means, especially for youths, to get them employed. We're also starting what we are calling the Mbalit project, which would be residential waste collection. And we hope to employ 100 or so people. So as a council, all we can do is use our tax money to invest in projects, invest in different areas that would boost employment. As you saw, we also engaged some youths we called Don't Throw It. And they were a two-man operation who were creating waste bins out of tires. And we were able to give them a big contract to create more waste bins. Some of them you've seen within the KM. And these are the things we're using, these tactics. Operation Clean the Drains, etc. Cleaning exercises at night, etc. So we are using taxpayers' money to inject it into the local economy to create jobs.
I will come to those youths first, but you talked about the 100 youths that will be employed and as police, or you call it. Are these coming from the police,
no,
security, or the youths?
These will be fresh recruits. Same as, so for the police, we are going to get fresh recruits. For the Mbalit program, these are going to be fresh recruits. So that's combined 200 jobs. But there's many more jobs we are creating indirectly. These are projects, construction projects we're doing, market projects we're doing. When we do invest in some of these things like public-private partnerships, these are all going to create employment and self-employment, which is also very important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move ahead and then perhaps talk about the bins that you've talked about.
Yeah.
And a huge project it was. In fact, someone called me the last time saying it was 3 million. I was like, wow.
Up to 3 million.
3 million. How can the KMC justify that? 3 million for those small bins I saw on the way? How did that come? I understand one good thing about it is it was given to Gambians.
No.
That was cool. But 3 million, how will you?
It's a 500 bin initiative.
500 bins?
500 bins.
Costing 3 million?
Yes, so every bin costs about 5,000. That's going to give you close to...
I'm not sure if I've seen those bins. Are they the ones on the highway designed KMC?
KMC, so they're not fully deployed. We are doing it in stages. We have 100 so far, but we do it 50 at a time. So by the time we get to 500, the entire municipality will be covered. So this is extremely important. It's waste management. So would you like your streets to be dirty and littered and unclean?
My only concern is the amount of money involved.
It's not a lot of money.
Okay.
When
you're crying about money, lack of resources.
Well, the resources are supposed to fix problems, including waste management, infrastructure problems. The resources are supposed to do those very things. I'm sure you've been maybe to a developed country. Every corner there's a street bin. You cannot just litter anywhere you like. So the idea of the street bins came when we were cleaning the Westfield. I myself was participating. And a little child came up to me and said, Mayor, you see this orange in my hand? If I'm done with it, I'm going to throw it in the street. And I asked him, I said, what do you mean? He said, well, if you don't provide bins, where do you expect us to throw our litter? We're going to litter our streets. And he just walked away. And I felt very guilty because the truth of the matter is any country you go to that is progressive, that is a little developed, they're providing street bins for their citizens.
And again, people are disciplined about trying to keep the environment clean. That's another thing also.
Absolutely. So it will create discipline. It will change people's habits towards waste. As you know, waste and disease go hand in hand. If your streets are very dirty, your gutters are littered with rubbish and all sorts of things, next thing you know, there might be a cholera outbreak. So it's of utmost importance to invest in anti-littering operations. So we are working on this 500 bin project, and it's been so widely covered and so good that I've been receiving calls from Basse Area Council, Mansakonko Area Council, even BCC. Some of their councillors are asking, how can we replicate this in our own cities? Because we're finding it very difficult to clean our environments.
But again, within the KMC, you know, we've seen a lot of, you know, waste around, and there's a lot of work needs to be done.
Baby steps. Somebody has to do it. Somebody has to start. So one of the things we're finding with KMC is we're actually having to build from scratch. I would have loved to come in and found out.
What do you mean scratch? If you say scratch, you mean
scratch
they pass
in the sense
didn't do anything?
In the sense we're in, is this QCell building?
Yes.
Yes. What's the address?
Okay, that's another thing. We will come to that. That's
so
another. It's part of it.
You don't have an address. So the first addressing system was built 500 years ago in France, in Paris. There's nowhere in the world now you will go and there's no addresses. Gambia is the only country I've been to in the last 3-4 years that has 0 addresses. You couldn't tell somebody where you are. So without addresses, how can you enforce? If you call the ambulance, how will he know where you are?
Well, you've been in office for almost 12 months. What's taking you so long to change this?
So you think it's that easy?
No,
we're working on it. That's why I said I would have wished to come into office and found out that the whole country had addresses. I would have wished to come into office, everywhere had litter boxes. I would have wished to come to office, we had residential waste to collect.
How long will you complete this?
We have paved roads. Well, we have a target of 2020. So 2020 is our target. Yes, so we've started. We are engaging stakeholders, including QCell. So we hope you guys will come on board. Because there's no budget for it. It's an expensive project. It's something that should have been done a long time ago. It's something that everybody should have seen as a big priority. Because today, if your house burnt on fire, if you call the fire service, he tells you, where do you live? What would you say? You will start describing. And every second with a fire might be life or death. With a banking service, you want to take out a loan. Where do you live? There's no address. You can't use your property as collateral. Very difficult.
So you're waiting for the money to come. When will the money arrive? Because
we're not waiting for the money to come. We are investing some of our money. We are also got a stakeholder who's willing to supply 5,000 poles to start with, because we need 15,000 poles for these 3 names. So we are taking it step by step. We are not waiting for anybody. We are just, every day we are pushing. Our policy is, even though we have limited resources, we have unlimited willpower. So we are young, we are very young council. I myself, 32 years old. Our youth councillor, he's 23 years old. He's one of the youngest councils in the history of Gambia. So all we do is work. We want to see change. We are hungry for change. We are hungry for change. We've sat too long, watch on the sidelines, looking at our backward country and wanting to make it better.
One thing that, you know, many will ask, you know, listening to this, will like, you know, the enforcement of the law. We know there are laws, you know, designed to it, but the enforcement of it, knowing that we are a very lenient country, you know, high time that we set the rules, you know, and then the bar high that you do this and face this, because even the issue of the dustbins here, you know, the sustainability is one thing. I was going to ask, you know, how ready are you guys to make sure that, you know, waste doesn't last on the streets long? Because there's also one more thing that they always accuse the KMC of. Yeah, getting your two faces, but you get hard KMC jealousy. But the issue of enforcement, they lost first.
So enforcement, I can't speak for the central government. Like I said, we're waiting for our own police to come on board, to experience what it would be like. But like you rightly said, governance, you have to have a carrot and stick approach. You give people solutions so they can comply. But then you have to enforce when they don't comply. So if you tell people, don't litter or I'll arrest you, and they said, but Mayor, where do we put our rubbish? That's why you have to provide the bins. Now if you provide the solution and they're still littering, then you bring your police to fine them or penalize them. So with us, we are waiting for our municipal police to come in.
How soon?
We just got the verbal approval today. So hopefully within the next month or 2, we should have our police in full training and probably fully deployed by the end of the summer.
Will this police also include traffic warning system, knowing
No,
that the
so
KMC is just...
traffic is still centralized. So this is under the Gambia Police Force. So like I said, our role in terms of how Gambia is set up is limited because we are not a decentralized government. Unlike other countries where municipalities are very powerful, they control their schools, their healthcare, their police, etc., etc., etc. Well, we will focus on what our mandate is, and our biggest priority is waste management.
You're here to change things, you know. Sometimes you can go into and use your influence, as you rightly mentioned, community policing, KM policing, you know, going to the traffic, helping the work of the police.
Absolutely. But we need police force.
Maybe the police can do it all. KM can come. Now that you're going to hire 100 police, maybe perhaps in the next...
We will help them because they have been, to be honest, helping us when we lack these police force, especially in our markets, etc. So I am the head of the security task force. It's not a sort of command and obey thing. It's just a task force where we come and discuss what are the threats in our municipality, how can we help using the different offices, including our office, to mitigate them. So we are working very well together. If one department identifies a problem in one area or a risk in another area, we all come and contribute our resources and see how we can help. So definitely when we get our municipal police, we will reciprocate. Our major priority would be bylaws, the creation of bylaws and the enforcement of bylaws. This is anti-littering bylaws. In terms of zoning, in terms of putting materials on sidewalks. So bylaws are various. So we, in terms of when you can have events, where you can have events, where you can park your car, where you can't park your car. So bylaws keep order within our municipality. But like I said, we haven't implemented we haven't made any bylaws because we don't have municipal police. Once we bring municipal police, we will start implementing bylaws.
Sounds sweet.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Let's move ahead. Well, before going to the dump site, that's where many people can't wait to sound your reaction. But the Serekunda market, for example, one of the busiest markets within KM. The first day I heard there were 2 security officers attached to that market when thieves were continuously breaking shops.
Yep.
I was like, wow, are we for real?
Yep.
You know, what solutions have you made into that market?
So Serekunda market is very complex. It's a market where it has residences inside the market, so very difficult to control. Even when you put times in which the market should close, in the middle of the night, one of the residences would want to come out or go to their house. How could you control that? So it's very difficult in that sense. It's also difficult because it's the center of Combo and the center of arguably Gambia. It's the commercial center. Everybody wants to sell in Serekunda. Everybody wants to do business in Serekunda. And for the longest time, it was left unchecked and it went out of hand. Vendors started coming up to the street, blocking the roads. There was a tremendous amount of waste generated every day. There was tremendous amount of theft occurring on a daily basis. And all this while, KMC did not have municipal police. Like I said, in 2016, they disbanded municipal police. So when we came into office, that was one of our first updates. Serekunda market needs security guards. So just like every household, we didn't have police yet, so we just got security guards.
Two security guards?
No, at that time it was 4. Okay. Right, so we got security guards, which was 4 at the time. And then around December, there was many thefts happening. So this was not properly communicated to KMC. The market committee that was there did not communicate to us. The market management that was there did not communicate with us. The councillors around the area did not communicate with us. And then it went out of hand, and the youths who are vendors decided to protest. Now, I have no problems because I am a public official. I'm here to serve. The KMC premises is a public building. So when they came in, people against the security's advice, I opened the doors. I said, let them in. So they came in, I invited them to our town hall. I heard their concerns, and I took responsibility. I said, look, I am the head of the municipality, so I will take the blame. So what we did since then, now this is what really matters, is we had a security task force meeting. We decided to add police intervention unit officers there during the wee hours of the morning and the night. So we have armed security, 2 patrolling within the market, 2 on the highway, checking people coming in and out of the market vicinity. We also added 7 security guards, which are KM security guards, to be patrolling in and around the vicinity of the market. We installed CCTV cameras. We installed 76 solar lights on the building of the market and 20 solar lights in the vicinity of the market. We just installed the new security light tower, which oversees the entire market. So we've invested a lot in the market security, and since then, this was 6 months ago, we haven't had any single incident of a theft.
Interesting. Yeah. And the issue of the garbage, I think, is now settled also.
Yes, so the market is extremely, well, I would not exaggerate, but it's very clean. It's been taken care of 24/7. There's night shift, there's morning shift. Also, we are clearing the roads that are blocking access into the market. It's very difficult because some of these women, that's their daily living, that's how they make a living. But roads are roads, they must be kept clear for cars to go in and out dropping goods. Also in emergency vehicles or cleaning vehicles. But what we are doing to help those women is we're creating more market space. Right now in Serekunda, we're creating a shed which will host about 500 women. So these are some of the things we are doing there. And it's going to be continuous. I don't look at progress as a one-time thing. It's a process. It's continuous. It's ongoing. So every week we install something new. We just installed a borehole in an area that never had water in the history of the market. So that's something the market people are celebrating. We also renovated the entire market. We've heard some new complaints from the Sandika, which we are going to address in the coming weeks. So it's ongoing. It's not a one-time thing. We hope every week, every month, there'll be something new until our term.
One thing they are not celebrating is during Eid, you pack them all to Buva Zone. When there are no stores and stuff, why do you do? You know?
So this was my first week in office. There was Eid happening in my first week in office. It's my 1-year anniversary, similar. So there's this annual wanter that used to happen in the market. And there were 2 groups, one that wanted it to happen, one that did not want it to happen. The people that did not want it to happen, their complaints were, there's always people blocking all the roads of the market, so customers are not coming inside the market to buy. And the longer we leave people blocking the roads, these street hawkers or vendors, the more people are coming out of the market. Vendors are abandoning their stalls inside the market, coming out to sell. And this is why Serekunda was becoming very chaotic. So they said, we don't want a wanter because we've suffered enough. So on the other hand, there's the usual people who do the wanter every year, who wanted the wanter to happen. So within my first week in office, there was a fight between the 2 groups that turned into a riot. So this time around, we have a market committee that we've set up on the council level. Serekunda market itself, their committee, I had made sure that it was dissolved and they had gone under a congress to select new leaders. So we are hoping with these elected officials, we can now work together in the best interest of all stakeholders of the market to come up with a good solution for this wanter business. Yeah.
Let's move ahead and talk about the back of the dump site. This is one place that since you came into office, even before you came into office, has been a continuous problem. But it's like with what I'm seeing online from activists, nothing has been done.
Well, backwater is a big problem. It's a generational problem.
A problem that you cannot solve?
It's a problem that can be solved with the right support and the right partnership. So to give you a synopsis of what backwater is a quarry which is 17.3 hectares and 25 meters deep. So Where people are walking on is 25 meters deep of waste. So that's a big threat to our water table. So anyone living within a 5 to 10 kilometer radius around Bakote dump site is obviously at risk. So that's one major issue, and that's one major reason it should be shut down. Another issue is that because of these trapped waste, it does create gases. And sometimes human beings wander into the site, well, all the time, and they want to extract metals, scrap metal that they could recycle or resell. And this activity is done by burning. So when they do burn, the gases do catch fire, and then the site goes out of control. And before the fire can be put off, it can take days or maybe weeks, because like I said, it's 25 meters deep. Even if you take off the fire on the top, it could burn underneath. So it's a huge problem, a big problem.
What do you think are the short-term plans for?
We are doing a feasibility study. That's a side issue. But the major issue for me is we want to keep people out of the site. So as you have seen, the perimeter of the site, the wall is porous or non-existent. So people are using the Bakote dump site as a shortcut. Children use it as a playground. Last year, a child died, lost their life. So this year, we've budgeted to fence the site. It's under GPPA right now, public tender, and we want to see it happen before the end of this year to keep people out. But now, more long term, people easily say, why not dump elsewhere? Well, the big question is, would you like anybody to dump in your backyard? So it's not a good solution to move Bakote dump site to somebody else's backyard. The problem is here is waste processing. We need to process the waste that we generate. So there's many methods used around the world. The one we are leaning towards right now is waste to energy. We plan to work with NAWEC to see how we can incinerate the waste on Bakote dump site to create energy. And we've got a lot of interest from different investors around the world. The only issue now with NAWEC is about PPA, which is a power purchase agreement. And the issue with the PPA is price. So we are hoping that with the support of the central government, support of our ministry, the Ministry of Energy and Office of the President, that we can find a good solution to end the Bakote crisis.
Let me take you back a bit. When you say a lot of people, or people outside the world show interest in trying to cope the problem down there. Recently, you signed an MOU with a Finnish company.
Yes.
What is that MOU about?
So the MOU is with a Finnish company called Voima Corporation. We've signed an MOU with them and an MOU with NAWEC. So it's like I said about a waste to energy agreement. We want to enter a PPP, sorry, I'm using all these terms. Public-private partnership, joint venture to create a waste to energy plant in Bakote, which would be a 2.5 megawatt plant that would burn the existing waste in Bakote and turn it into energy. So that's what that MOU is about. The MOU with NAWEC is similar, is to sell that energy to NAWEC. Now, to get to the agreements, then we need to agree on price, and then that's where we need all stakeholders to support it.
The company from Finland will come here to recycle the waste to energy. You try to sell the energy to NAWEC to supply to the people.
Yes.
If I understand you.
Yes. So the company has the technology, they have the capital. They would come invest. We have the land and the waste, so that's why we form a partnership. We have the waste and the land, they have the technology and the capital. We come together, we form a venture, we sell this energy to NAWEC, and then NAWEC passes this energy to the people, and then we solve our waste problem.
Is NAWEC ready to buy that energy?
NAWEC is ready to buy any amounts of energy right now because the country wants to grow. We are hungry for growth. The issue is price. Of course, they will not buy it at any cost because people will eventually have to pay for the cost. So they want a reasonable price, and we want to give them a reasonable price, and that's my job as mayor, to use my political capital, see how I can bring people together. And hopefully the central government, under the leadership of the president, will also chime in and help us out.
When is this Finnish company due in Banjul?
They were already here. They've left. We're expecting them soon as we can get something going with NAWEC.
Interesting. Lord Mayor of the Kanifing Municipal, Talib Ahmed Bensouda. Before we wrap this interview, of course, we can't do we're talking about politics. As a young mayor, let me ask you, how's the feeling like, getting into a party that is with the majority, UDP, coming into government with the majority, I would say, and all of a sudden, after 2 years, things have started falling apart. How do you feel,
Well, it's politics. I'm not sure I would say things are falling apart.
Things are definitely falling apart.
Well, they are not falling apart. I would say things have changed. But it's politics. In terms of, we have, I guess, a political atmosphere which is very noisy at the moment. I would have hoped that after we all came into office, it would be very quiet, everybody would be busy working for the Gambian people, and then come next election, the noise starts again, like most countries. But as you know, we came out of a very tough spot. We all had a goal to remove the former president here, who was having an autocratic government from all our perspectives, and we wanted to see him out. And if he goes, and now we have a democratic society, this is exactly what we expect in a democratic society. There's going to be various views. It's going to be very diverse. People are going to go where they think is the best. And it's going to be politics. I would have just hoped it would not have been this noisy. But given that it's a transitional period and there's what do you call it, a coalition government that was set up. Obviously, like all coalitions, people will start forming new alliances, and then going forward, anything can happen. What's important is for elected people is just to remember that you were elected for a reason, and not to ignore the work of the people and go into full-time politics. So that's just my advice for every elected person.
I love the word that you use, noisy. It has reached to a level that
noise.
People are campaigning like next week is election.
Yeah, so
Talib will leave his office and go all the way to Baseto campaign. What's really going on?
That's not a campaign.
What is it? How do you call that?
Political activities happen throughout the year. It's normal. In Basse, our chairman there had a victory celebration. The parliamentarians, 1 year after their time in office, they did have a victory celebration, which I attended at the buffer zone. So these are just normal party activities. And politics never stops. It's a living, breathing thing. In all countries, President Trump, he constantly has political rallies. What I mean by noise is mostly from the media. So
we just translate or we try to transfer.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. Politicians will always be politicians. Politicians will always rally. They will always call their supporters. They will always politicize things. But I think the media should be more responsible. They should discuss the issues rather than personality politics. I think our media.
Are you saying that is what is happening here?
That's what's happening. The media is more focused on personalities rather than the issues. You've asked very brilliant questions here. You've challenged me on my political promises. I think this is what we need, rather than what do you think about what that person said about you or what that person said about you.
I was going to ask about the 3 and the 5 year thing.
Yeah, well, those are all fine. But what I'm saying is personality. Let's not talk about people's characters and try to do character assassinations or try to pin people against other people. Pin ideas.
This is what the politicians are even doing here.
Pin ideas against other people's ideas. So I think the media has a responsibility to keep politicians focused. You see, politicians are very dangerous. If you give us the free hand, you will be distracted. You will even forget why Talib came into politics. and you'll be focused on what Talib is saying on a daily basis, when you should be reminding me exactly what I promised the people and how far I am in accomplishing those goals. Because that's your responsibility to the people, to the Gambian people. Because at the end of the day, when all this noise dies, what the Gambian cares about, how much is the price of basic commodities? How is public transport? How is infrastructure? Is my rubbish being taken away? I think that's why we're in politics, is to make our country better. But if we forget why we're in politics and focus on the politics, then we will lose our way. So our media should always keep politicians focused on the job. So that's my advice.
All right, that's a good advice. I'm sure they will definitely take it. With the issue of the 3 and the 5-year thing, a lot of noise has been made around it for almost 7-8 months now, and I'm seeing on the papers today that the coalition have agreed shifting from 3 years to 5 years. As a citizen, not as a mayor, what's your take on it?
You're very smart. As a politician,
as a citizen of this country.
Well, as a citizen, I don't know. I'm indifferent. I will leave it to people who signed the coalition. The Constitution says 5 years, so I think most people believe let's just follow the Constitution. The agreement was made by a set of individuals. I think they are the ones to sit and determine what they think is best. But as a citizen, all I see is the law. And
really? 5 years?
5 years, I think, is okay.
Really?
Yeah.
And the relationship between the head of state and your party leader?
Well, that's their personal business. The head of state is my head of state. He's my president. I will support him in development. The party leader is my party leader. Politically, I will follow his lead.
If we were to go by the current constitution, he is barred from standing in the 2021 elections. Is Talib interested to?
No, I am not interested. And
you're not interested to lead this country?
No. I am interested to run the KMC and to make sure I accomplish what I promised the people within my 4-year term.
When will that 4-year term end?
Well, it should end 2021, but the law says
go into elections.
The law says if it coincides with presidential elections, then we have an extra year. That's what the law says. But I want to serve my term to the best of my abilities. That's what I said to people in their living rooms when I went campaigning around. And then after that, I would hope to go back to my private life.
If the UDP should approach you to say, we want you to be our flag bearer for the 2021 elections?
Well, I wouldn't know until that time comes. But for now, I just want to serve as mayor, and I look very much to going back to my private life.
It's 2021. Anything can change. And these are politicians we're talking to. They can change in a second. But come on, you'll be interested to run the country. You're young, people, I think they misunderstand being a politician. It's one of the hardest things one can ever engage in. You risk it all. In the sense, it's low income. Low income, as in?
You don't have a good salary. You spend all your time trying to make people's lives better.
That's the beauty of it.
And most times they don't appreciate it because they think you should do more, or you're not doing enough, or you're not doing nothing at all. And you spend a lot of time away from your family. And the opportunity cost that you could have spent in your own private business, making a lot more money or a lot of work, doing other work, you're spending trying to build your country.
But come on,
so it's not easy.
That's the beauty of it.
It's tough.
That's the beauty.
No,
of it.
that's what I'm saying.
It's
tough, but do I regret it? No.
Exactly.
Do I think it's worthwhile? Yes. I think it's a privilege to have this title. But then again, it takes a toll. So how long can you do it is a big question. Being mayor is so difficult. I could not imagine being president. And I have a family I would like to see grow up. I'd like to spend time with them.
Talib, you don't want to be the president of the Republic of the Gambia?
No, as of now.
Perhaps a word or two to your people in your municipality, KMC, you are 1 year into office. What should we expect from you more? As the Wolof say, first num daw daw nga yoko ko yar. What?
Absolutely. So to the people of our municipality, we're working very hard. We're doing everything we can to make your lives better, to improve your lives. We just ask everybody to comply with the rules. We are asking everybody to make sure that they're paying their taxes. To have a voice in our country, to vote in our country, you must pay your taxes. So we want everybody to also support council initiatives. This is a council that is young and is working very hard. We don't have much resources, but we have unlimited willpower. So we seek every resident of our municipality's support. On the politics side, like I just said, we urge all people to focus on development politics, to also focus on building our country, and wait till the elections come before the noise starts. And that goes for the media as well.
Well, I said that was going to be my last thing. Just came to my mind that I was in your council today when you gave out cash prize. You organizing a football tournament.
Yes.
We have a lot of football tournaments here. Why a football tournament?
The football tournament was special because it was designed to bring our communities together. It's grassroots football. Every councillor is elected by a community. We want that community to come up with a team, regardless of party, lines, or regardless of tribe. And we come to the arena and have fun. So this was fully sponsored by various sponsors, including Q Group. And it was beautiful, and the end justifies the means. Meaning, at the very last game, Party leader Papa Njai was there, Party leader Usino Dabo was there, APRC reps were there, GDC reps were there, DOE reps were there, and nobody cared about who was who. All we cared about was what's going on in the pitch. And this is the beauty of sports. It also brought artists who came and performed for free. It also brought cultural groups, dance groups. So it was a beautiful thing, and we hope next year it will be much bigger and much more inclusive. We want to include women's sports, we want to include sports for the disabled. We want to make sure that every Gambian sees themselves in this tournament.
Lord Mayor of the Kanifing Municipal Council, Talib Ahmed Bensouda, thank you so very much for the time you've taken to come in the studios of the Viewpoint. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And of course, after 1 year, I think, fair enough, you people will definitely judge. And a lot of them are saying, I will have Nyineni in the studio here to talk to them. That's all I have time for today's edition of the Viewpoint. I've been your host, Babu Karsi. Till I come your way next week, the same place. Ramadan Mubarak.